You are tuned into From Dirt We Grow. I am Stephanie Kendall, and I want to thank you for joining me today for today's guest, who happens to be another candidate running for the people, running for the right reasons. So be sure to stay tuned, stick around, and see what he has to say. And while you're here, please go ahead and hit that like button, the subscribe button. That would be much appreciated. And let's hear what Mr. Jesse Alberti has to say. So, thank you so much for being here, Mr. Alberti. I am so happy you have joined me, and welcome to the show.
Thanks, Stephanie. I'm glad to be here.
I've been highlighting these grassroots. You'd call yourself a grassroots.
Yes.
I've been highlighting these real efforts for change because it's so obviously we know it's much needed right now. You're running for governor of California. Tell us why now? Why are you running for governor? Tell us about yourself.
I'm boring, so telling you about myself is probably not that exciting. But why I'm running is because of a lot of reasons. There are a lot stacking on, so I'll try to stick to my personal reasons and at least my professional ones for running, and try to keep it simple. I had cancer in 23, which I survived, but in a remarkable way. Meaning, I got ridiculously healthier after cancer. I lost about 160 pounds. I got off my diabetes meds. I was a much healthier, better physically person. But I almost died.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. No, everybody thinks the benefits are the good part, and I just didn't feel right when I tried to go back to like life. It didn't feel the same as it had felt before. Work felt oppressive. Family life was a little bit of a struggle, and I just didn't feel like I was fitting in. And I wasn't quite sure what the reason for that was. And then things started to take a turn politically. Trump got elected, stuff started going a little south. I live in Southern California. I'm married to a Mexican American, which means my kids are multicultural. And it kind of started to freak me out when ICE started grabbing people indiscriminately from the streets of LA. And I felt like I needed to do something. And Newsom's term is terming out because he'll be at maximum years he can be a governor.
I was gonna say I didn't know that, and so that clears up a lot for me as far as why California already has a high profile governor, and I was gonna ask you what made you feel that it needed like a different direction. So that clears that up for me. So half of my questions are gone. No, I'm just
No, no,
kidding.
no. Well, that I think that's a great part of it, right? Like people's awareness of politics is so limited to what they're capable of paying attention to. And I don't mean that sarcastically for you or for me or for anybody. I mean, realistically, the world is so busy with your own personal life and your work life and your friends' life. Paying attention to the political life that's also going on is so complex. And let's not even count the stuff that's out of your state.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am worried about the candidates that were being put forth. Again, that was a naivete of mine before I started this, because if you don't know, there's more than 60 people running for governor of the state of California right now.
Wow.
Yeah, but you're only going to hear about 8 to 12 of them, and those are going to be Republican and Democratic candidates, and only the really wealthy, really well backed Republican and Democratic candidates. A lot of the rest of the people you won't ever even see.
So that's why I hope we get eyes and ears on you because these are the people that we need. People, listen up. Highlighting these people because they are the people that are running for the people. Just like Mr. Jesse Alberti here, running because they see that the people are not being represented like they need to be, like they're supposed to be. So please get out and vote for the people that are running for the people, not for the money. So please continue. I'm sorry. I just had to throw that in there.
No, that's big for us. I mean, getting my goal in this, like, running for the race. I obviously knew without a large sum of money it was going to be difficult. But the reason I did this was kind of for my own edification, and the hope was to take the stuff I learned and pass that on to others. So like we've been shooting YouTube videos about all the different aspects of like what we're doing, so that when we're done with this, we'll have a series of videos that kinds of explains how you would run for office and the kind of roadblocks you're going to run into when you get there, so that more non-politicians can actually start getting engaged and following the same steps and maybe learning from some errors, because I've definitely made some.
You know what? That's actually really cool. You're doing like a real-time documentary how-to guide. That's that's really cool. So, okay, you said you're not going to get eyes on you on these 60 people running for governor unless you're Democrat or Republican. Where do you stand?
I am I am currently registered as no party preference, which means I'm running it as an independent currently. No Democrat, no Republican. I'm also not taking any PAC money.
Good, good, because money needs to be taken out of politics as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Um, so what are your policies? What do you stand behind?
Well, that's a great question, and they're not all built yet. We are still kind of creating the platform that we're running on, but I can definitely go over some of the ones that we've finished writing up completely. We have three financial ones that we're working on specifically that are posted on the website already, and we're still going to be adding more to that. It's just when you decide you're going to run for office, and it's kind of a crash course. Your platform comes almost tertiary at that point. But Californians are complaining about how expensive California is. So our first targeted platform topics are to correct that. So the first one that's primary is banking. So we had started looking at statewide banking, which North Dakota does, as a beneficial process for California. When I started doing that research to see if it's something that California could pick up, it turns out the California Constitution won't allow for a statewide bank. And when we looked into how that might be altered, technically Newsom already got a county or citywide bank pushed through about a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, but we haven't used it. So the bill exists, but no state or county has taken, or no city or county has taken up the opportunity to create its own bank. And I have to assume that is because corporate banks are making sure that that bill never gets used, even though.
I was just going to say, why do you think that is? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the first things we would do is we would run an LA Citibank and a San Francisco Citibank as the test pilots for those two programs. And once those were up and running successfully and we had the kinks worked out, we would end up pushing each county to create its own bank, which would start keeping California money local to its community, start making loans available for homes and for small businesses to those local Californians. And any of that money coming back, any money that's made off of those, interest rates for the loans, is going back into the county or the city that created the bank. So that money is staying within the community. It's not going to corporate hands. So that's number one. Number two is we have California driver's insurance right now. It is used as a safety net to cover the lowest income folks in the insurance game, essentially. So, like, if you couldn't afford normal car insurance, you can buy car insurance from the state of California, and we give it to them at the lowest cost that we can, while still covering the needs for the state to be able to cover if they got into accidents or other things. We've looked at that process and talked about changing the entire thing, because right now it covers about the lowest 3% of Californians. We would like to flip that around and offer that same insurance package to up to 85% of Californians, leaving the most expensive vehicles or the most expensive fleets off that list of being capable to get cheaper insurance, so that Californians can save money on auto insurance, and that corporate insurance companies would still have customers to sell to. They'd have the ones that already have a lot of money and can pay their exorbitant fees. But for Californians, they would be getting a savings in insurance costs. In addition to that, let's say the insurance for auto insurance makes money that year. That money can go right back into infrastructure as opposed to profits, right? Like, it's, again, taking away that corporate profit range allows you to, anytime you make money, put that money back into the state.
The corporations are the ones winning, not the poor people, not the ones on food stamps, not the people that are not the immigrants, not this and that, which is, by design, obviously.
Right. I think we need to get away from allowing that to continue. The only way I can think of doing that, and this is a large part of why I didn't chase the Senate or the House seats instead of being the governor, is because California is almost there. We're already the lead in almost everything America does.
Yeah. So how do you get the votes when the votes come from the people that have the money that are getting the tax breaks because they know that they're going to get looked out for? That cycle, how does that work for you guys?
The weird thing is you don't honestly need the funds, right? Like the money is so that I can pay more people to pay attention to me. But realistically, if we're doing things like this, if more people get word of mouth out about things that they care about and things that they want to invest in, then they put that word of mouth message out there themselves, right? Like, so I'll give you an example. We're about to start our signatures in lieu this month. On the 19th, the forms come out that I can start gathering signatures, because if you didn't know, it takes about $4,500 for me to run for the governor's position. So I have to actually pay 2% of the governor's would be salary just to put my name in. Now I have the alternative to get signatures to reduce that fee potentially to zero if I get enough of them. I need about 7,000 to make it zero, because each person's signature is worth about 32 cents, which amazes me when you do the math on what your vote is valued at.
Wow.
Right. And so if I can get those 7,000 signatures, then again, I don't need the money to make it through. I just need the acknowledgement from the people that I'm an option for them to vote for. And so that's really been the push for us, is not to ask for money, but to ask for volunteers, for support, and people to keep pushing the message. Because that's the real only way that's going to get seen.
Wow. So how do people find you how do people volunteer? How do people get their signatures on there?
Okay, so we're going to do a couple of different programs once we get the sheets. We're still waiting for the 19th to actually be able to pick up the forms from the county clerk's office. But the idea from that point forward is we're going to be doing events every weekend. And we're putting messages out on TikTok once we get the forms to start doing like signature parties, so to speak. And the goal there is to just get as many people to come and ask questions and talk about politics, and then get signatures loaded on that. I do a Friday night live from the LA Downtown Detention Center. And so we've talked about bringing the petitions down there as well. And when we're doing the protests outside, we'll be asking people to drive by and sign signatures as well. It's been very eye-opening to see even the divisions, like even the media, like we were talking about earlier. Media doesn't really acknowledge what's happening in the elections. They go along with whatever the groups are pushing, and that's it. They don't dig any deeper. I've reached out to reporters. I've reached out to news organizations to like give information about things that are showing exclusion. They won't even respond.
All comes down to money. They're more and more backed by
Right?
they're not bipartisan
No, not at
anymore
all.
like they should be. Whoever is paying the bills.
Exactly. Well, I'll give you an example. So, with the forums we were talking about, there have been 7 so far in California, governors forums, which is essentially a organization, we'll call it, or group of organizations will get together and decide that they want to throw an event and have some of the governor's candidates come and represent. And the idea is that they're trying to show their constituent group the options for candidates, and they sometimes do those in collaborations with like news organizations or other things. So you've got 2 or 3 corporations putting this forum together. And then they decide what the standing is for who they're going to invite. And I'll give you an example. So we had the APAPA, which is the Asian Pacific Association of Public Affairs. There we go. That's a big acronym. And their organization essentially put together a forum in Sacramento, and they posted it on their website, and they said, hey, we're putting on a governor's forum. We're inviting all the candidates, and here's who's agreed to come. And it had like 10 people, 8 people. So I reached out to that group and I was like, hey, I didn't get an invitation. And they were like, oh, we're sorry, Mr. Alberti.
Who are you?
Do we know of you? Are you in any media? Have you been on the news at all? I said, no, no, I haven't, but I am registered as a candidate for the state.
Wow. So they just overlooked you.
Well, they didn't overrule me. They didn't answer when I pointed, like when I sent them my information from the Secretary of State saying I was an official candidate. What they did instead of responding to that response is they went and changed their website to say only major candidates as opposed to all candidates. They didn't even respond again.
No.
Yeah. So they literally changed their website to show that they were disallowing. And again,
Oh my.
this organization was charging $50,000 for a table to go and sit and watch these people. So they're making money off this process, but they're excluding people they don't want to be represented there.
Wow, people with no money, basically, or not, not
Basically,
kind of
yeah.
that kind of money. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So everything comes down to money. That's why I say we got to defund politics.
Yeah, no, we really need to take the money out of it because, like, the way it sets up for federal government is they're still doing it at a federal level, but in the state, you can change the corporation's setup back down to they're no longer counted as an individual, which would take away the LLC's ability to donate funds to PACs. Because right now, that's the law. We changed it, and everybody allowed corporations to act like they were people and just start adding money to campaign funds. All we have to do is take that ability away on the state level, and they can't affect California politics anymore. They could still affect other states, but not here. You look at what the governor makes. So the governor's position makes about $250,000 a year. If you earn the position of governor, you're the governor for 4 years at least. So that's a mill, right? Like, so $1 million is what you will make doing the job of governor for 4 years. But some of these people have more than $1 million in their campaign accounts already. I mean, so several of them have multiple millions of dollars in their campaign funds. Why do you need that much money to run for an office that isn't even going to pay you that much back? Why do I need $15 million to get a $250,000 a year job? Because they utilize that money for other things. That's the other thing that I did not realize about politics beforehand is these PACs, they're forever. So all right, Kamala has her set up from running for president. Her PAC, when she was done running for president after she lost, the reason people assumed she was going to run for governor of California is because she just changed the PAC name. She didn't give any of that money back, which she could. The process allows for you to return money to people that donated it to you, or you can take that money and put it in another PAC that you want it to go to and just move it. And so she created a I'm running for governor pact and moved the money there.
But didn't run for governor.
And then didn't run for governor, right? Which means that money got moved around again. And so this is the other thing that I did not understand about politics before I got here. The money they have in their PAC can be used to write themselves checks if they're still running for government, even if they're not working in government currently. So if you can put your money into another pact and say, well, I'm going to keep paying myself because I'm going to go for this position, and then move that money later and go, oh, you know what? It turns out I'm not going to run for that position. I'm going to move this money over to something else. I'm still going to pay myself because I might run for that office instead. And they almost view their paychecks from the job, which are inconsequential compared to their campaign accounts, as an extra supplement. It's just sprinkles on top of the giant campaign cupcake they have.
Okay, now going back, as a grassroots candidate, how can voters trust that you won't get corrupted once you're in there?
Oh, that's a great question. They can't, right? Like realistically, they can't, and that's the important part of politics is we keep letting these people go up there, do a shitty job, and then go, well, maybe they'll do better the next.
Yeah, right.
I would expect that if I get my 4 year term and I can't make enough of the Californians happy to revote me, then I'm out, right? Like that's the idea. It's taking a grassroots person and giving them the opportunity. Now, I will say this. I have been a California state employee for the last 27 years. Do I want to do the disclaimer? Okay. So we've already said my name. I'm Jesse Alberti. I am an assistant director for the housing maintenance department at the University of California, Los Angeles, and I have been working for UCLA for the last 27 years. I give you my title as information purposes only because the university does not support me or me running for office because they can't, because it's the state itself.
Yeah.
But working in a job for the state at an organization as big as UCLA has absolutely prepared me for most of what I will run into in Sacramento. I work with forums. I work with different bodies of government all over the place. I work within the rules of the state and its finances. I balance budgets in the millions of dollars. I am prepared to do what the state needs to have done, which is honestly going in with a mindset of somebody who is normally a boss and someone who normally fix things, without the conundrum of having a boss above me, without having to say this is how I want it to be, and then fighting for that. It'll be this is how I want it to be, and that's the way it's going to be because you're the governor of that.
Good for you. Good for you. Transparency is so important in politics. We don't have that. We haven't
No,
had that for a while.
no. Well, I get asked a lot of times, like, oh, well, what would you fix when you get in there? Actually, I think I would spend a large amount of time basically going through everything and making sure everything's on the up and up, because you can't see that it's on the up and up from the websites that we're allowed access to, right? Transparency is only so transparent. And I know when I get in there, there's going to be a lot of other stuff because I work for a state organization now. I know there's a lot of other stuff beneath the surface that needs to be to shine the light on and open it up to the public so that they're aware that maybe we weren't doing everything right, but we can start correcting that.
Now, is this the beginning for you, or are you doing this just in this moment to kind of switch directions as far as where we're headed, or are you in this for the long haul?
That's a really good question. I am both, to be fair. I am completely not a moron and understand that without money or huge amounts of media coverage, I stand a limited chance to get the job. But I had promised myself when I started this, when I put my own money, which I don't have a lot of, into this campaign account for for the purposes of running for governor, that I would give it my biggest effort. Which, again, getting on stage is something most of those 60 people haven't done yet. So I feel like I've made a lot more progress than I should have at this point. I've met with a lot of the other candidates that aren't being media covered, like me, and they're still struggling and they haven't been on forums. So I definitely feel like I'm making progress and I'm showing that there
Hmm.
is movement and that it can be done.
Hmm.
But this is not my career goal. Um, I'm probably 8 to 10 years away from retiring at 53. I'll get into my 60s, and then my plan would be to let go. As a state employee, I've got a decent state pension built up. So being a career politician is not what I planned for the rest of my life. If I get this gig, I will do the 4 years. And if I do a good enough job, I might run again for another four just to give California the opportunity. And then I would be out. I would not be chasing a different career further on. I would disappear into the sunset and let somebody else take the reins.
Honestly, that's the kind of people we need. Is not that they're in it for these ulterior motives or for themselves. Is there anything else you want to add?
I would say the only other thing that I think would be interesting is when I got into this, I kind of reached out to a lot of my family. And this is one of my fun stories to tell about this whole exercise in running. There's a part of my family that I was slightly estranged from. And they're back on the East Coast, but I still reached out to them to let them know that I was doing this and that my name was going to be out there and there might be press on it. And that might cause people to reach out to anybody with my last name. And it got me reconnected with my younger sister, who we really hadn't talked much in about 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and just the notification to her kind of sparked something, and then she reached out to me to ask how it was going, and then we had like a really big reconnect, like several conversations, and now we text each other pretty regularly. It was a very important reconnection for me, and that only came about because of this race.
That is awesome. That hits home with me because my brother and I don't talk. It hasn't been that long.
I had an experience at one of the Friday night lives that we do, where I had a guy get in the chat, and usually on Fridays I let MAGA just go as long as they don't spew hate. If they want to spew Trump and nonsense, that's fine, because I'm standing outside a detention center protesting, utilizing my First Amendment rights. I don't kick them out of the chat for the same reason. I'm like, you're protesting me while I'm protesting something else, right? I had a guy say, you know what, I'm gonna come down there. I'm gonna come down there. I'm gonna be right there, and I'm gonna tell you what's for. And I was like, I mean, I'm happy to have you come down if you want to stand by me and protest, or if you want to grab some of the snacks I brought. Like we're good. And about 25 minutes later, that guy showed up, and
Did you really?
he did. He showed up, and he called me over while I was on stream still, and he shook my hand. He goes, "Hey man, I
Really?
just wanted to say thanks for being out here." He goes, "I was kind of being a troll because it's TikTok and I could be a troll." And I was like, "No, I understand." He's like, "It is really cool that you're doing this and that you're not a jerk." And I was like, "Thanks."
Oh my gosh, I expected that to go a whole completely different way.
No, it was a great thing, and it was because I wasn't beating up on the MAGA people. I was saying, look, some of the things you guys want isn't unreasonable, but also some of the stuff you want might be a little extreme, right? Like we can meet somewhere in the middle. And I think the more we demonstrate that with communication with our kids, has been such a growth experience at the same time as learning a lot about politics. It's been enjoyable. And the only thing I can do is constantly recommend for other people to do it because you don't need a 53-year-old parent who's already got a full time job running for governor. What you need is some young kids that have been slightly educated and have the right goals and the right mindsets and a little guidance to start, running for these positions.
There you go. Not only, even if you don't make it, which knock on wood, I hope you do, you will make it there. Let's put that out there. But it's a learning experience. Either way it goes, you've grown in the process, and that's part of life. So that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, no, full speed.
So thank you so much for being here. I really, really do appreciate your voice, and I really appreciate, honestly, your efforts.
Thanks.
And you are welcome back anytime when you make it to governor. Don't forget about the little people like us that helped you get there. No?
Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate that.
For everybody out there, listen to what these men have to say because they're, and I say men because that's all I've been able to
Interview.
interview. But there are women. There are women out there running, and just listen to the people that have the people at heart, and not ulterior motives and different agendas that don't involve the people.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Alberti, for being here, and thank you everybody for listening. We will see you next time on From Dirt We Grow, right here with your host Stephanie Kendall.
Thanks.